In this video, I'll be showing you guys what I use for my editing software. And also, if you're new to video editing, I know sometimes the layout, when you see something like this, looks completely confusing. But I want to just break it down and just explain the basics of video editing, and I promise it's not as complicated as it looks. Now, I don't know if you're new to video editing or if you already have some experience, but one thing that I would suggest is there is a lot of video editing software out there. There's anything from very basic to extremely advanced. And my suggestion for you would be, if you are planning to get into video editing and you'd like to continually improve it over the years, I would suggest that you immediately get a program that can allow you to do this. One thing that happens is, if you just get a simple basic program that's easy to understand, has kind of a beginner interface, and you get used to that, it is so much harder to switch later on to more of an advanced program. When you're so used to one program, it's almost more overwhelming than just starting right away with one that can take you much further than like a beginner program, if you understand what I'm saying. The good news is, the editing software that I use is completely free, and I will try to find a download link that I'll put in the description that you can go check out. Bubba, can you go do something else, please? So other programs that are equal to this one, Adobe Premiere is like the most popular editing program for professionals, and Davinci Resolve is like right there with it. The difference, you pay like $300 a year for Adobe Premiere, whereas Davinci Resolve is free. And if you eventually want to upgrade Davinci Resolve to the full extended version, you can pay for that one time and then you're done. I think it's about $300, the same as what you pay per year for Adobe. I do not use the professional version. The free one has plenty. Enough said, let's jump right into it. While this is starting up, there's one thing I wanted to tell you guys. Video editing requires a lot of computer power. So if you have a very basic laptop or computer, it probably will struggle. I buy computers that are better equipped for video editing. So if you try to do this and your computer's always crashing, it's probably because it's too slow of a computer. I can't tell you 100% if Davinci Resolve will work if you just have like basic videos that don't take a whole lot, but once you start doing a lot of complicated edits, your computer might struggle to keep up. So just a warning on that. Okay, right now we are in here. This is a whole bunch of projects that I have, and it'll save the projects. I'm going to go click on an untitled project and click open, and then it will take us directly into Davinci. Now I'm going to take you through step-by-step basic video editing. So right down here at the bottom, you'll see 6 tabs. You can start here with media, or I just usually start straight into edit. It's basically media. You can just drag your clips down here to the bottom, but you can do the same in the edit tab. So just go straight to edit, and right up here in the top left hand, you see it says no clips in media pool. So what you want to do is go find your folder wherever your clips are. So I'm just going to open up my folder down here. Okay, so I just have some random videos. I'm just going to select them all, and then you just click and drag them over, and it will bring them in. Now this says clips have different frame rates. Just click, don't change. But now I have all my clips up here in the left hand corner. Now when you're video editing, there is a timeline, and what a timeline is where you do all your work. So down here where my arrow is, right in this area, this is your timeline. Think about a timeline sort of like stacking blocks. You have different layers. If you're stacking blocks on top of each other, always remember the top block covers up the bottom block for the most part. Audio is a little bit different, but for video, for your visuals, so you can have multiple layers and you can stack your videos on top of each other, and I'll show you that in a minute. So to start off, just come over here, click on a video clip, and drag it down into your timeline at the very beginning. Now if you come up here to see this minus and plus, you can zoom in and zoom in on your timeline so that you can see your video a little bit better. This I think is a pretty short clip. Maybe I should grab another one. Okay, I'm going to drag another clip in here that's a good bit longer. Now the timeline is split into your video and audio. So on the top here, you'll see the video. It says video 1, and down here is audio 1. These two go together. I'm hoping I can be clear in teaching and not confuse you all, but one thing I wanted to point out before we keep going is when you drag a video into your timeline, The audio and the video are synced. They're locked together. If you want to separate them, where you can just drag one or drag the other, you can go up here and see this row of tools. I'll explain some of them to you, just some of the basics. But if you come over here, there's a little, it looks like a chain link. What that stands for is the videos are linked together. The video, the audio, it's linked together. If you click that, now they are unlinked. So then you can go and click on your audio, and I can move that separately from the video. So that's just a good tip to know in case you need it in the future. But I like having mine linked together. Up here is my video. So if I hit play, my video is going to play. I can watch it play. Very basic. So now if you have this clip and you want to add another one, you would just go over here, drag the next one, and pop it right into place. Very handy. Another little tool up top, if you look at this row of tools, there's a little magnet tool. If that's clicked on, which it is now, what happens is when you drag your next clip onto the timeline and you start getting close to the first one, it will like pull it together and just snap it in place like a magnet. It's very handy when you're editing, trust me. If that is off, it won't do that, and then you have to like manually try to line it up, and often you'll like bump into the next video and start cropping out. One of the nice things with Davinci is you don't always have to cut your clips. If you just have the second clip and you know you don't want, say, half of the first clip, you can just drag over and it'll just automatically cut that out. But I don't want to do that right now. All right, so I have the magnet on, it'll just snap into place. And that's how you just go. If you want to do a very simple edit and you just have like 5-10 videos you just want to put all in a row, just keep dragging them in, and then there's your complete timeline and you're finished. But of course, we probably want to do a little bit more editing. If you want to add music to your video, go down here to your timeline. It says video 1 and audio 1. You want to right click on your mouse and you hit add track. I add a stereo track, and then right there I have an other tracks. If I want to add more audio, then I would go and find a music clip. Now a lot of you ask me where I get my music for my videos, and I really like using Epidemic Sound. I'll have that link below as well. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I pay monthly. I put out enough videos, it's worth it for me. And they just have a host of music that is copyright free. You don't have to worry about YouTube flagging you or anything. So that's really nice. So I'm just gonna go in here. And right now I don't have my headphones on, so I can't hear anything, anything that I'm doing or what kind of music I'm selecting here. Let's just do Barefoot Summer, and I'm gonna drag it over into my media, and now I have audio. So if I want to add audio to this clip, I would just drag it down into the audio section, and now I have layers. So down here, this highlighted one would be my audio, and you can see the wave format, length, whatever you call it. And then up here I have my video. Sometimes I like keeping it a little bit, a little bit further down on another audio, because if you want to add another video on top of a pre-existing video, the audio will jump down on another track as well. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So if I go here to video, right click, add a track, now I can add another video on top of here. Now, why would you want to add a video on top of another video? Because sometimes you want, if I'm talking to you all and I want to add what they call B-roll, which is your second footage, it kind of ties into what I'm talking about. That way it's not just a long clip of me talking and then finally I show you what I'm talking about. Sometimes I want to do that. These videos don't really correlate with each other. I just grab them for an example. But let's just say that this first video of Nolan in the boat is me talking or something, and I want to add B-roll on top of that. So if I just go over here, yeah, here's a kayaking video. It has nothing to do with the first one. But if I take that and drag it over top, now you see that I have my first layer right here, and the second one goes on top of it. So here's the video, and linked with that is that video's audio. And you notice that earlier I moved the actual music down to a third layer, because if I would not have done that, let's just go back. If I move this audio up to the second layer, and then I would go and drag in my other clip, it's going to cut into my music. This is something that happens to me even when I'm like not paying attention, and suddenly you have your music playing and then suddenly it's stopped abruptly because your video audio started. So you have to watch out for that. So I'm just going to move that down and then move in my video clip. Often for B-roll, I don't want my second video playing its audio. So a quick tip for that is just go down here and click on the audio, and your little arrow, if you just hover over this line, you pull it down, and now it will have no audio. I'm sorry guys, I have no idea what this sounds like. I should have my headphones on, but if I start playing this, here's the boat. I'm having struggles learning how to do audio and computer and headphones. It wasn't quite working out with the program I'm using, so I can't actually hear this music, and it might be really loud compared to the audio of the video. So something I like to do is just when you edit, make sure your music doesn't overpower whatever your clip is. Sometimes you can choose to use no audio in your video clip and just music. I often like to still have the sounds of the video clip in my editing. And so if you do that and there's a lot of talking, make sure your music doesn't overpower the person talking, because that can be really annoying. Just adjust your volume on your music clip just up and down, or the other way you can do it is just go, when you select a clip, you'll have options up here on the right hand corner. It says clip volume and so on. Some of this stuff, like the equalizer stuff, I don't understand that very well. I am just still pretty basic in my edits. Now the next thing, a very quick and easy tip that is extremely handy. If you want to get rid of a clip, just click on it and hit backspace on your computer and it will disappear. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to let my music here. I have no idea once again what it sounds like. So one quick tip for editing with music. If you're talking and there's music in the background, this does not apply. You want your music really soft. But if you have sort of a sequence of videos that you're just trying to display sort of like in a cinematic way, and you want to add music to that, something that makes your videos much better is if you edit to the music. So when people watch this, they might not actually notice it's being done, but subconsciously they like the video better because it flows better than if you just say randomly put music on and then cut videos wherever you wish. So you have like music track that has like a distinctive pattern, a distinctive beat, and then if you always cut on the same beat, it really helps tie your video together. Once again, I can't hear my music, but I can see down here, you can see your audio wave. If I'm editing to music and I want to cut my first clip, so let's go down and look here at the music timeline. This first spike right here, I'm just going to assume that's a beat I want to cut to. So what I do is if you go up here to this row of tools, once again, this little icon right here is your split tool. So if you just click on that, come down here, you'll see a little red line. And wherever that line is, when I click on it, it's going to split that video. So I'm going to zoom in just a bit so I can see better. And I'm going to line it up with that beat down there where it goes a little bit higher. I'm just going to assume that's a beat that I want to cut to. Boom. Now it is cut. And let's just say I do not want the rest of this video. It's all just too, I don't want it. So now I have to go back up here and click the arrow key or click A on my keyboard for arrow. Click on the clip that I don't want, and then I hit backspace and it's gone. Now you can either grab your next clip and pull it in like so, or you can just click in between the clips on the timeline and click backspace and it'll just pull your clips together. It's really nice. Let me just put the audio. So I'm playing here. I have a feeling I should have cut earlier. Actually, I'm gonna cut back here. So here's a beat. I'm gonna assume this little beat right here is where I want it cut. Okay, I'm just gonna cut right here. Okay, click on that, backspace, drag this in. There we go. Looks like the music changes. Now looks like the music changes again here. I'm really guessing on this. And now I'm going to split it here once again. And I don't want the rest of this clip, so I hit backspace. Okay, once again, these clips have really nothing to do with each other, but I'm just gonna drag the next one onto the timeline. This is a shorter one. Well, I need a longer one. So instead of having to go and delete that, I can just pull another clip on and just drag it over top of that one and it will automatically disappear. Once again, it looks like here's a beat, and I'm guessing this is my next major beat, and I'm going to split it right here, get rid of that, and we'll just do one more clip just for, here's my husband running a chainsaw, and I'm going to just go over to right over here. Looks like there's another big beat, more or less. Maybe I should better go to this one, because that looks a little bit more like what the music is running to. Okay, so I just have 4 clips. I'll just let it play. No idea how this sounds until I'll be watching it back. But see, it's just cutting in between clips and cutting some music, hopefully. Sometimes the sound between your video clips can be really jarring. One might be really quiet, the next really loud, and you're not sure how to soften that down. So the next batch of tools I want to introduce you to, if you go over here to the left-hand side, you'll have your toolbox right here. Now, I'm not 100% sure when you download Davinci how everything is set up, if it looks exactly like this. Sometimes it can be a little bit different. You have to kind of figure out your layout, but this is how mine's laid out right now. Over here, you have your transitions. So you have video transition, audio transitions, titles, and generators. I actually don't even use the generators, not sure what they are. But if you go into video transitions, here you have different kinds of dissolves and blurs if you're into that sort of thing. So one I really like is a cross dissolve. All you have to do is click onto it and drag it over top of 2 clips and see how it links the 2 clips together. Now what's going to happen is when we play over that, it will blur, kind of dissolve the 2 clips together. Let me show you. Like so. If you want to get rid of it, you just click on it and hit backspace and it's gone. Now the same goes with audio. Remember how I was saying maybe 2 audios are kind of don't jive together? Here you have a crossfade. Different decibels like 0, -3, or +3. I just usually go with the regular one that just fades the 2 clips together, and you can drag it down in your audio between 2 clips, and so it kind of meshes the 2. It's a better transition from one audio to the next. So I use that a lot if it's kind of jarring from one clip to the next. Another trick you can do with your audio, this is where the link, this chain link comes in handy. If you click that off and you want to have the audio from one clip drag into the next clip so it's a little bit more of a seamless transition, you would just click onto, say, the first clip here on the audio, just drag it underneath the second clip. And so you will be seeing the second clip playing, but the audio from the first clip will be continuing. And then often to mesh the sounds together a little better, I would put a crossfade in here of the audio. My son's back. Oh no. So I think we're just going to leave that there. We're going to go down here in the toolbox over on the left-hand side and click on titles, and this is how you add text. So if you scroll up here, I do have another layer for video 2. You just drag a title. Just go down here, drag text. This is just a normal one that I use. Drag it over top of your video, and now when you drag your cursor bar over it, your lettering will be there. So now your title is on top of your video, and then if you want to edit your title, you just go up here in the right hand corner. I'm just going to type in voting. And then you can change this. You can change your font right here to whatever you want. You can change your size. You can either drag this or this, either way. Here's your color. We'll just leave it black. Just different editing tools if you're familiar with working with lettering. Here you can position it different ways. Just drag up and down. And if you want to ever come back to where it was before, just double click on like position and zoom however it was before, and it'll bring it back to how you had it. You can add a drop shadow. Right here you can add different colors of drop shadow. If I want black, I would just go over here to offset, and that little arrow comes up, and I'll just drag it to the right, and there's a little bit of a drop shadow, and I can do up and down on this side as well. So yeah, you can play around with that. If you want a little bit of an outline around your lettering, I could do that right here with stroke, and just drag to however thick you want it. Another quick tip, I'll just keep throwing some tips in. If you want the lettering to fade in and fade out, select your text right here, and you'll see up on each side there's like a little tab, and when you hover over that, your cursor will change, and you can drag this right and left. If I drag it right, the lettering will fade in, and I can do the same with this side of the clip and drag it this way. Once again, you can just hover over the end of your clip, text clip here, and I can lengthen it however long I want it, and I can shorten it. I'll just shorten it to this clip, and it's going to be pretty quick, but we'll just play over it, and you can see how it fades in and fades out. Or you can just leave it straight and it'll cut with the clip. I hope that helps out a little bit. I'm just showing you the very basics of each setting. That way you can get started. The fade in and fade out, you can also do that same thing with your video clips. I'm going to link them back together so I don't mess this up. So if I want to fade this last clip out, once again, I just hover up over the right hand side and I drag this to the left, and now the clip will fade out. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention earlier is you can do more editing with each clip. So if you click on a clip and come up here to your right hand side, you have a little bit more editing features. You can zoom in on a clip. You don't want to do this too much or your quality suffers a good bit depending on your camera and how good it is. You can rotate it. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I don't use this a whole lot. I'd use this section right here a good bit. Okay, so just a quick recap. On the left here, you have your media. Down on the bottom, this is your timeline. You can add as many audio tracks and as many video tracks as you want, to my knowledge. Just stack them on top of each other, drag and drop. Here is your tool timeline. You have your arrow key. I wouldn't worry about these two. I don't use them much. This is your split tool to cut clips, and don't worry about these as well. This one right here is your magnet to make clips snap together. This is your link tool, which allows you to separate audio from video. And then this over here zooms your timeline in and out, just so that if you want to see your whole timeline, it just makes the clip smaller. If you want to work really closely with your clip, you can just zoom way in. Over here on the left, you have more tools with your video transitions and your audio transitions and your titles. And now we're just going to move on. We're just going to skip this fusion part. You don't need to know much about it right now. If you ever want to get into it more in the future, I don't use it much, but it can be handy. This is a little bit more advanced editing, so we'll skip that. Now we'll jump into the color. If you like to color grade, there is just a wealth of knowledge, and this is where I'm really struggling in a lot, and I'm trying to learn a lot more with color grading, trying to get my clips to always look natural with your white balance and everything else. I will show you the basics in the color tab. Don't worry about these color wheels for now. If you want to learn more, just search it on YouTube. There's a lot of information there. Down here under these color wheels, you have contrast, saturation, hue, and all these different things. I use contrast, saturation if I need to. So if a picture just needs a little more pop of color, you can just hover over this and drag it to the right, add more saturation. You can add more contrast. Another quick tip, this wheel right here that says offset, this is for your entire clip. Some of the rest of these are for shadows, highlights, and midtones. But this wheel right here is the only one you should worry about right now. If your clip is too bright or too dark, down underneath the color wheel is this slider. So if I move it to the left, I can make my video darker. If I move it to the right, you can make it brighter. And if you want to go back to what it was, just click this little refresh arrow. Now, if you don't shoot in like a raw video, you can't tamper with this too much or it starts looking bad. And then if you want to change your white balance, if your video is like too yellow, too blue, down here there's a number 1 and a number 2. So if you click on the number 2, then now you'll have your temperature and your tint and your color boost. Color boost just adds more, just pops the color more. You want to be careful with that one. You have your shadows and your highlights if you want to pull out of your shadows a bit more or darken your shadows. Same with the highlights. But over here is your temperature. This clip looks pretty good to me, but I could make it, if I drag to the left, it'll be less yellow. If I drag to the right, it will be more yellow. So if you want to fiddle with that. So that's the temperature, that's your warmth. And then your tint would be more your magenta color. You could, you know, add more of that in or detract from it if you go left or right. But another really handy tool to use, there's a lot of tools in here, but if you go up here, once again, this is your toolbar. Go to this little, actually that's where we are, but if you're not in this window, go to this little window icon thingy, I'm not sure what it's called, right where my arrow is, right here. Click on that. And then you're going to go over here to Window and click the drop down, and you have Windows, Stabilizer, and FX. Click on Stabilizer. Now this is a big key for video editing. If you don't use like a gimbal or something, your video can be pretty shaky. Depending on the camera you use, some cameras have image stabilization in them. They can still be a little bit shaky. So this can help take your video and take some of the shake out of it, which makes it so much nicer to view. When a video is really shaky, it almost makes a person sick watching it. And I'm still struggling with this, but I try to get them the best that I can. So how this works is it looks at the video and it analyzes it by itself. And then to stabilize it, it actually crops into the video so it can take some of the shake out and kind of level it on its own, if that makes sense. So it's going to crop into your video. And sometimes when it stabilizes it, it messes up the whole video and the video just warps. So sometimes it does not work. So make sure to watch out for that. But often it will work. So right up here are all the videos that are on my timeline, up here in the middle. So here's the boat. And that one's pretty good for stable, but we'll just run a stabilizer over it. So all I have to do is go down here and click stabilize. There's different levels of stabilizing you can do, but I wouldn't worry about them. Just click stabilize. It'll automatically read it, and it cropped in just a hair. So now when I play it again, see, it's much smoother. But if you notice, on the right hand side of the video, it jumped a little bit, or it kind of pulled away. And this can happen with videos, and if it's too bad, I will unstabilize it because it just bugs me. Some videos are worse than others. So if you don't want to use that stabilization that you just did, you go down here to this area once again and just click bypass stabilization, and then it won't put it on. Let's try the boat. How is it before? Okay, that one's pretty good, but we'll stabilize it anyway. And it just gives it a much smoother, look. What about this one? That one's a bit shaky. They're not too bad, but it helps it look so much better if the software can pull it off. Yeah, that one turned out really well. And then let's stabilize this one as well. Yeah, so that's just a little trick if you want to learn, if you want to do that. All right, let's move on. The last step that I would do is then export the video. So don't worry about this Fairlight. That has more to do with your audio if you want to get into advanced audio. And then you just go to Deliver tab right down here at the bottom, click Deliver, and then you have different options. I would just click Custom. You would type in your title. I'll just put in boating. Right here you could browse and choose which folder you want it to be exported into. And then down here I like to export it as an MP4 file just because it's kind of a standard file that's recognized everywhere. And then down here your resolution is often just your standard high definition. I mean, if you're shooting in 4K or higher, you can check up to ultra high definition. I think the free version doesn't let you actually export in 4K. Your frame rate, just let it at 24 frames per second. Anyway, and then just click for your quality, click automatic, make sure this is set to best. And then all you need to do is add to render queue, and your video will pop in over here on the right hand side. And then you just hit start render, and it will start exporting this video. And once it is finished, actually, I forgot to cut the audio. It's going to go for a while. But once it's finished, you'll find it over there in that folder, and there's your video completed. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I hope I didn't confuse you anymore. But video editing is easier than it might look on a confusing timeline. Just remember, you have your layers. Just drag in your video. If you just want to do something simple, just drag them all in a row, cut them where you want, and then just export. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and have a good day. Bye.